Do you want to know how I travel so often? It's not because I drive an '08 Honda Civic or because I eat chicken and rice almost every night of the week. And it's not fully because of my job. I mean, it's a big part, but Peter's not even on. You see, I think the thing that allows me to travel so often is that I subscribe to the theory of the platinum triangle of travel. And if you say, what is that? I don't blame you because I think I made it up, but I don't actually know. But it makes sense. Look at this. So the platinum triangle for travel. As you can tell from this expertly crafted diagram, it's geared at traveling in your 20s, but 20s, 30s, 40s, basically anyone who doesn't have their peak earning potential and isn't fully loaded yet. But basically a triangle, three sides, right? Transportation, food, drink, fun. That's a beer, that's a sandwich. Woohoo! And lodging, like hotels and Airbnbs. Basically, with this triangle theory, you want to pay for two out of the three sides of the triangle, and that allows your money to go further. So if you're going to pay for a transportation, car, flight, maybe a boat, we might want to pay for food, drink, and fun as well. But we don't want to pay for lodging. That's where something like credit card points come into play for hotels like Hyatt and Marriott. So basically, when it comes to free travel, we're talking about getting rid of a side or two, right? We want to get rid of hotels. We want to get rid of flights. Maybe there's some sort of all-inclusive package for the food, drink, fun, right? There are very few examples where we can get rid of all three of these sides of the triangle to fully travel for free. But we want to make sure our money goes further, or we catch a free ride with a really rich friend. If so, invite me next time because you can really preach the platinum triangle and how awesome that is. So in this example of a trip that I just took to London, Paris, and Dublin, we're going to talk about how I reduced my travel spend by using credit card points and how I was able to have this experience and so many other experiences like this by following this theory of the platinum triangle. So I'm going to be fully honest with you in this video, break down what I spent on each of these sides of the triangle and show how I can make my money go further by adhering to this principle. And if you learned something new and you have a new trip coming up, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you think about this theory. But let's dive into what I've just spent on this trip and how I consider it free. But it's really not, as you'll see. I forgot one last thing before we dive into this whole breakdown. If you're new to the channel, I'm Colin. I love all things personal finance, and I have 10 plus credit cards. On the channel, you'll find lots of things about credit cards, credit card churning, maximizing your points, investing, different investment accounts. So with that said, here's how we got to this situation. As I mentioned, I'm a credit card fiend. I love them. I have lots of credit card points, and I also love to travel and see the world. So combining those two things, it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to see the world for free. I utilized points for the most part on this trip to Ireland, the UK, and France. So on the first side of the triangle, we're going to talk about transportation. This is going to cover a lot of different things. We're going to talk about flights. We're going to talk about trains. We're going to talk about buses. We're going to talk about Ubers to and from the airport. And we're going to talk about the local subway. Overall, the bucket of transportation comes out to be $15.50. I spent $300 worth of points in the Chase travel portal on my flight from Paris back to Dublin. So $12.50 of out-of-pocket money, right? I use points, that doesn't count. But of new money, $12.50. Here's the other caveat. I had a $500 flight voucher to Dublin on Aer Lingus because I was supposed to go back in 2020, but COVID happened. I was going with my buddy Chief, and we got a 5-year voucher to redeem for travel. I know I paid that $500, but having paid it back in 2020, boy math, it feels like that wasn't really part of my expense. I know it was. Don't get me wrong. However, new money, $750 out of pocket. Total money that I actually spent from 5 years ago till now, $1250. We can agree on that, okay? But we can already see here, the first chip of the $300 in points had already reduced it. We didn't completely eliminate it, but this is just one side of the triangle. $1250 in total, $750 in new money. So, lodging, completely free, okay? Let's start with that. Eliminated this side of the triangle. Oh my gosh, it was epic. So in Dublin, I stayed at the Hyatt Centric, the Liberties, and I redeemed 3 nights, 15,000 points each, so 45,000 points total. For 3 nights, this would have cost me $800 in cash. Good deal, walking distance to everything, and I'm really excited about how that panned out. Was able to transfer my points from Chase to Hyatt using transfer partners. I had checked availability before, slam dunk, boom. 3 nights in Dublin. I moved to London. This is when it gets really spicy. I stayed at the Park Hyatt on the River Thames for 85,000 points for 3 nights total. So I had a 25,000 point night and then 2 30,000 point night. 85,000 points is certainly a lot. I wanted the experience. I wasn't going to pay cash for this, but my room that I booked would have been $1,600. That's a lot of money, right? I wouldn't have paid that in cash. I also got upgraded to a Riverview room, and that would have cost over $2,100. So for those of you keeping track, we're already at $2,900 that it would have cost for those first two city hotels. Then we moved to Paris. This is where this couch surfing within the lodging part of the triangle really comes into play. I got to stay with a friend who lives in Paris. That's even better than free hotel nights because I'm not even using points. Granted, I did kind of pay for more stuff because he was a great host. So, I paid for food and drink and stuff like that when I was staying with him. But the point remains the same. It was great to hang out with my buddy, got to stay for free. That was awesome. That's overall $2,900 that we've chopped off from our overall spend on this side of the triangle. So we're doing pretty well, right? Last side of the triangle, we're on the food, drink, fun, right? This is where that bucket comes into play. And I kind of looked at it as I don't typically eat out, right? You saw my chicken and rice. I don't eat out at restaurants very often. So this was an opportunity for me to experience the food, try new things, go on tours, and just really experience the culture. This wasn't, in my opinion, the time to just sit and not spend any money. So again, this is vacation. We want to make our money go further, but I still want to experience it when I'm going all the way there. And I've already discounted the lodging side. So this one's pretty expensive. This was about $1,300. And what this covers, before you go up in arms about how much money this is, covers a lot. It covers my Phantom of the Opera. It covers a paddy wagon 2-day tour in Dublin. It covers the Windsor Castle entry, the Guinness Storehouse, the Jameson Distillery, and then all of my food and drink for the 11 days that I was traveling. So yeah, it's a lot of money. And like I mentioned, some of that extra food, I went to fancy dinners in Paris with my buddy, paid for him because again, he let me stay for free. So of course I'm going to pay for stuff. It's a little bit inflated, right? Technically some of that kind of eats into the lodging because I'm not paying here. So I paid for stuff here. If this is the first video you're seeing or you haven't heard me talk about it in a different video, here's where you get to learn a little bit more about me. Beyond the credit card points, beyond the day job, and even maybe beyond the second job that I have of swim coaching. The other bucket of side hustles that I do are focus groups. And luckily, I had a great run of success in the January, February timeframe where I got selected for a number of focus groups. So I was sitting on about, I think it was $500 or $600 of gift cards from doing these focus groups. If you haven't seen the video on how I break down focus groups, check out the link in the description at the end of this video, and you can see how you can kind of get started yourself. But I was able to pay for the Phantom of the Opera, which was $140. I was able to pay for the Guinness Storehouse and the Jameson Distillery, which were $50 a pop. So 100 there, 140 there, 240. And then I was able to pay for the paddy wagon tour, which was about $200. So yes, out of pocket, $1,300, but it wasn't all new money from like my day job, right? I'm supplementing that with other side gigs and side hustles. And so for me, yes, I'm spending $1,300. And yes, in theory, you could spend those gift cards for like bills and groceries and stuff that you need for survival. However, I look at that as fun money, right? It's not coming from my day job. I'm doing what I need to do and saving and investing. And you can see videos like that in the description too. This money's for fun. And this is where I was able to make that money go further and help me and not have to like cry about how much money I was spending. Because let me tell you, as someone who's pretty frugal, it did hurt. It was a lot of money that I spent over the past couple weeks. And I'm going to be eating a lot of chicken and rice like I normally do for the next couple weeks. So there's a little caveat again on that bucket of food, drink, and fun. So I've been doing a lot of talking about me. Here's what I spent on each of these sides of the triangle on this absolutely once in a lifetime trip that I just went on. And as we saw, the Platinum Triangle is great. I cut off an entire side there in terms of lodging. And this is something that you should really be shooting for to make your money go further if you want to travel, if you want to see the world, and you want to do it kind of on a budget, right? We got to eliminate one or two sides. There are very few instances where we eliminate all three. But as you saw, free travel isn't really free because even if I got there both for free on flights and hotels, I'd still be paying for the food, fun, and experience, right? But you got to spend money in life. If you're doing what you need to do and saving and investing and being frugal and using credit card points and racking up side hustles, you can't feel guilty at the end of the day on living life. Life isn't meant to just sit around and do nothing. But if we're building wealth, that's a different story. But now to make it actionable, right? To eliminate one of those sides, or hopefully two, we can look at things like credit card sign-up bonuses. On this channel, we talk a lot about credit cards, and there's something to be said about the passive income from points in the 3% and 5% categories of earning. However, the sign-up bonus is where the meat and potatoes are earned to actually be able to get all these points quickly to be able to use for travel and eliminate one or two sides of the triangle. So when you spend something on a sign-up bonus for, say, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, typically you're spending $4,000 in the first 3 months to get 60,000 points. Something like the Capital One Venture X, you're spending $4,000 in 3 months to get 75,000 miles. And that's a really big influx of points that can be immediately used for travel to make your money go further and see the world for free. Again, you're chopping off a side. It's not all free, you're still spending money. But if you're interested in learning more about the credit cards that can help you get to this traveling for a huge discount and seeing the world for free, you're gonna want to check out this video up here, and I'll see you over there. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.